Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news and transfer news and update roundup. In today's video, we're going to be discussing news about INEOS contacting Xavi. Is Ruben Amorim's job at risk? Draw versus Everton, 2-0 comeback, but results haven't been the most impressive. Paul Pogba contact, could he return? I'm not too familiar with the source, but apparently Ruben Amorim has spoken to Paul Pogba. Another injury blow ahead of the Ipswich game. Anthony thriving in La Liga, although he did just get sent off. And a move that INEOS have made that, I'm not going to lie, kind of really worries me about the future of this club. So let's dive into the news. Let's dive into all the information. So this was coming out from Spain. New Manchester United approached Xavi Hernandez to manage the team while he was in Barcelona, but he declined. Xavi is set to return to management next season, with Manchester United still a possibility. However, current manager Ruben Amorim faces pressure due to poor results, despite his contract running until 2027 amid changes under INEOS ownership since 2024. Now, I'm of the belief if you give Ruben Amorim time, if you give him the signings that he needs and you get recruitment spot on, Ruben Amorim can succeed at Manchester United. But I do know that INEOS have sacked manager after manager after manager at Nice. They are not patient people. They're not willing to wait for the process. Now, interestingly, we apparently spoke to Xavi before we spoke to Ruben Amorim back in November. This was said by other reports, which suggests that maybe they preferred Xavi to Ruben Amorim all along, which for me would be a little bit concerning, because I think Ruben Amorim is definitely the better manager, but Xavi declined us. We know Thomas Tuchel declined us, and I will say one thing: Ruben Amorim was third or fourth choice manager. If he was right near the top, we would have gotten the summer before and not kept Ten Hag. So while I don't want Ruben Amorim to be sacked, the possibility of him being sacked is there. I don't think he will be, because they spent a lot of money to sack Ten Hag, bring him in. But I also think if we don't get many results between now and the end of the season, there's a possibility they could say, we're not impressed by this. Even though the players are at fault, even though the players are the bigger problem, if we finish just 3 or 4 points above relegation, INEOS might say, actually, you know what? We don't have loads of money to spend. Your system requires a lot of money. There's someone else we like out there more available in summer. You just don't know. Look, I think Ruben Amorim is safe. I don't think he will be sacked. But you can't rule out that possibility. I don't want him to be sacked. I think we need the players to go. And I think it's one of those long-term processes where we're going to have to go through a lot of pain between now and the end of the season. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be good. But when we can get players out and get players in, I think we'll be in a much better position for it. Now, let's continue on, because talking of additions, there is reports about Paul Pogba returning to United. And this has been, reported by a couple of people. Now, I'm not super familiar with this. Again, I do not know the source of information. It could be a load of crap, but I'm seeing aggregator accounts put it out. And I think Jack Talbot also said something about this, that Paul Pogba has held talks, apparently, with Ruben Amorim. Manchester United would be ready to offer him a new renewable 1-year contract, and United would like to negotiate a new salary with bonuses. So again, I would take it up into salt. I'm not familiar with the sources, but some semi-credible sources said we've looked at the idea of Paul Pogba because of the injuries. There's a lot of injuries there. So they're claiming that Amorim has held talks with Pogba, and United are ready to offer him a 1-year salary, but 1-year contract, but it'd be maybe a low salary with many bonuses. And I think with Paul Pogba just desperate to play football again, and the injury setbacks he had before all of that, he could jump at an opportunity like this and be ready to prove a point, but there's also a big risk with Paul Pogba with the injuries, with maybe the lack of intensity. Will he be at the same level? I liked Paul Pogba, talented footballer, but his last season at United, he barely played. He was just injured. I mean, we got 2 good scenes out of Paul Pogba in. Paul Pogba on his day was just a different level of player. We'd see it in the World Cup. And ultimately, I don't think we played to Paul Pogba's strengths. I don't think we built around Paul Pogba. And when you spend that kind of money on a player, we should. But I don't think he's the same player. And he was dropping off at the end of his United career. He was dropping at Juventus, even though barely played for Juventus. I don't think he's the same player. Now, talking of players, Mazraoui reportedly picked up an injury to his knee in the 2-2 draw with Everton. He's set to undergo further tests on Monday before a decision is made on whether he can feature against Ipswich at Old Trafford on Wednesday. So this was said by Rob Dawson. Mazraoui picked up an injury during the 2-2 draw with Everton. He's set to undergo further tests on Monday before a decision is made on whether he can feature against Ipswich at Old Trafford on Wednesday. So this is a blow. I don't think Mazraoui's been great lately, but I think he's better than Delo, and I quite like him at right centre-back, and I feel like he wasn't actually the centre-back at fault for the goals. It was Maguire and De Ligt last time out. I think Mazraoui being out is a bit of a blow because that's one less option at the back. He can play left centre-back, he can play right centre-back, he can play right wing-back. I think Dalot just needs a rest and someone to drop him and maybe chuck Mazraoui in at right wing-back. So hopefully Mazraoui's okay. Again, it's very, decision will be made if he can feature versus Ipswich. It might be one of those where he's out for a game or two and is fine. As long as we're not getting any 6-week injuries, that's what I don't want. If he misses one game, so be it. If he misses 2 games, so be it. But I don't want any 6-7 week injuries. I'm hoping Collier will be back soon. We know Agasthe's back, we know Ericsson's back, we know Euro's back. I'm hoping Collier is going to be back soon as well. That would be a big boost. Obviously, Leach is out for the rest of the season. Ahmad's out for the rest of the season. Maynard's out for 6 weeks. We need as many players back as we can get. Luke Shaw and Mason Mount, who even knows? But let's hope that they're back soon, because if they stay fit, they have some use, but they can't stay fit. Now, I said at the beginning of this video that I was a bit worried about INEOS and one of the decisions they made. And I've said this before, but it's the Dan Ashworth sacking decision. And this is another reason why I'm a bit more worried about it. Ashworth's departure has meant more responsibility for Brailsford. Now, Brailsford isn't a football guy. He's a cycling guy. He doesn't have a good track record in football, as well as Braun and Wilcox. All three have to step forward to fill the void, as has COO Colette Rocher, who has become more involved in football operations. I don't like this. Dan Ashworth going and Brailsford essentially taking his space. I don't like this. Look what Dan Ashworth did at Newcastle. Look what Dan Ashworth did at Brighton. Look at what Dan Ashworth did at West Brom. Look how Dan Ashworth rebuilt the culture at England. We got rid of Dan Ashworth because he was sceptical about sacking Ten Hag 3 months after spending 200 million on him and bringing in a manager with a completely different style of play when we don't have much money to spend. Should we have gone with someone that was more similar to Ten Hag? Should we give it more time? He got sacked for that because he couldn't agree with others. He wanted to be more patient. Then they tried to scapegoat Dan Ashworth and make up stories that he wanted Southgate and make up that he decided to keep Ten Hag, which was not the case because he was on gardening leave, and it was said by all the reliable sources that Dan Ashworth wasn't involved in the manager decision, which is why they ended up keeping with Ten Hag, because Barada and Dan Ashworth weren't there to make an impact. Dan Ashworth, was critical of the signing of Xaxi and De Ligt. He wasn't 100% sure. And yes, he wanted Branthwaite over De Ligt, and yes, he might have had a more English bias. But he never wanted Southgate, and he's a very good man at his job and rebuilding the squad long term. And he's the kind of guy you'd want when you look at the mess United are in. Even though he's not a recruitment specialist, he's good at rebuilding the cultural environment. So to think that Dan Ashworth has gone and Brailsford, who has no good track record of football, is not a football specialist, coming in and taking up that responsibility worries me. I like Barada, I like Wilcox, and I also believe that Amorim will be a success long term. But we've got to wait a while, and we've got to get recruitment spot on this summer. We've got to get a lot of injuries, of course, but we've got to get recruitment and the profiles we bring in spot on this summer. But going into the last bit, Anthony got an absolutely insane assist for Getafe today. He basically run the length of the pitch and set it up, not for Getafe, for Real Betis against Getafe today. It was unbelievable. And Anthony's been involved in 1 goal in each of his last 3 games for Real Betis, 2 goals and 2 assists, which is unbelievable, up for the Player of the Month award. We've also got Marcus Rashford on loan getting a double assist and 1 assist technically in his first game for Villa. So that's 3 goal contributions for Rashford. That's 4 goal contributions for Anthony. This puts us in a good position ahead of the summer because we took a risk getting rid of Rashford and Anthony and not replacing them. But if you get rid of Rashford and Anthony on loan and they produce on loan, you can get money for them. And I think that's what United have done. Get them off the wage bill, get money for them. So that puts us in a better position in the summer where, Marcus Rashford strengthens this team, but Amorim's laid his bed. He does not want Rashford. With these players being sold, we've got more money to invest in the summer to maybe get Cunha, who apparently is open to joining United. Same with Victor Osimhen, which would level up our attack. But Anthony didn't have a very good end to the game. I felt like there was only like 1 minute left in the game. So he didn't really need to do this, and they were winning. And he went and basically got a red card and fouled from behind. So Anthony being Anthony, but he's been very good at Real Betis. Rashford has been very good at Aston Villa. Tyrone Malacia has been solid at PSV so far. But we've just got to hope for those performances to continue being good. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Bye.